Everyone, sorry I had to come back to you. Something I forgot at the beginning of this video that you're going to be seeing at the beginning of this video that does not align with my whole video. But anyways, I had to talk about Pablo's mom. He was at the hospital or wherever she gets her treatment at. She was having her last chemo treatment. However, it was still up in the air if this is going to be the last dose that she's going to need or not. But it's a lot of anxiety and a lot of just waiting around just to know if this is going to be the last one. But at least it was that. But I wanted to put that in just to say, Pablo, your mom is in my prayers, and also your family, and we're praying for complete healing, and for the ones that believe in God and that believe in the Trinity, in Jesus' name. I had to put that out there. The only other thing I had to say, which I'm going to be discussing later in this video about Max, with that, you're just not going to win. Because people are going to just take it anyway. And I remember the word that I forgot when I was recording this video earlier. Baboon was the word that you said. Unfortunately, again, I don't believe that you had any ill intent as far as being problematic. However, with the optics, it's just going to make you're not going to win. Especially at how Marlo wants to, I feel, take advantage of it. And I speak a little bit further in regards to Marlo's thoughts and feelings, possibly. However, yeah, it's best to apologize and lay anything else down as far as pride and all that.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LG Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Chasing Orlando. This is season 2, episode 5. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video in support of me, and you can subscribe. You can leave your comments below. Let's get into this week's episode.
Sorry I had to come back to you. Something I forgot at the beginning of this video that you're going to be seeing at the beginning of this video that does not align with my whole video. But anyways, I had to talk about Pablo's mom. He was at the hospital or wherever she gets her treatment at. She was having her last chemo treatment. However, it was still up in the air if this is going to be the last dose that she's going to need or not. But it's a lot of anxiety and a lot of just waiting around just to know if this is going to be the last one. But at least it was that. But I wanted to put that in just to say, Pablo, your mom is in my prayers, and also your family, and we're praying for complete healing, and for the ones that believe in God and that believe in the Trinity, in Jesus' name. I had to put that out there. The only other thing I had to say, which I'm going to be discussing later in this video about Max, with that, you're just not going to win. Because people are going to just take it anyway. And I remember the word that I forgot when I was recording this video earlier. Baboon was the word that you said. Unfortunately, again, I don't believe that you had any ill intent as far as being problematic. However, with the optics, it's just going to make you're not going to win. Especially at how Marlo wants to, I feel, take advantage of it. And I speak a little bit further in regards to Marlo's thoughts and feelings, possibly. However, yeah, it's best to apologize and lay anything else down as far as pride and all that.
Okay, so we start off the episode. I'm going by memory. I think this is Ao and Fabio. They meet, and they're just catching up with one another. Fabio, who's trying to put out his EP, is having some struggles because he's having a lot of clearance issues and releasing some of the music that he does have, and that's quite frustrating to him. I'm glad that Fabio is sticking to the chasing part of this whole situation. I'm glad that we're getting that part of him. And Ao says that he wants to have a skating party. The theme is for something with skating and, I don't know, not skating over issues or just skating over issues or something to that nature. Now, Ao, you mentioned that you were going to have something with Cali Boy in the first episode as far as a group thing. And that's why I was so confused when on the first episode that Cali Boy was doing this pool party. I was like, huh? And I thought it was going to be your function. Hopefully we get to see you be the host that you are. But since this now has turned into a skate party, let's get to it. But he says that it's going to be like an 80s theme. I don't know if people are going to dress up as they were in the 80s, or like an 80s symbol or whatever. But anyway, it's cool. Max, or is this part? No, I'm gonna wait. Let's go on to Pablo. Pablo, he goes to the gym, and he has a trainer. I don't know if he discussed this, I can't remember, but according to Pablo, he was a bigger guy, and he lost a lot of weight. And now he's just ready to tone up and do all the things that he do. I mean, Pablo's like a small dude now compared to whatever he looked like beforehand. But congratulations on that. Max joins him, and we see the trainer. Now, according to people in the comments, the trainer was security last year on season 1. Cool. I said, renew his contract. Renew his contract for season 3. Come on. Get a little eye candy around there. That's it. So anyways, they do what they do as far as training, and then Pablo ends up discussing with Max about some of the things that are going on. His children were graduating. He was not able to really be involved in it. He had paid for a lot of things, and then all of a sudden it was put to the halt. He put a picture online, I guess, on some of the things that he was doing, and anyways, he was sideswiped. And he was just discussing all that. He's trying to hold in his feelings and all that while dealing with other things. I think that is so messed up. You have a father that actually wants to step up and be there. Something I did that I normally don't do, at least before I do my review, I had watched the after show. I really don't want to watch any other reviewers. I don't want to be swayed by anyone by chance. You know, I usually know my own convictions and what I want to say, but I just would rather just go blindly in what I got to say and then hear what everyone else has to say. So, anyways, Pablo was like, the baby mama did not really want him to be a part of anything because she felt like he was taking away her shine. But y'all co-parents. What do you mean? The shine is supposed to be on the children, for one. I guess it's for prom and graduation. Yeah, that's what it was. So, what? I think that is so crazy. So now you punish the dad and you punish your children that the focus is supposed to be on, and not you and what this person can provide and that person can't provide. That's selfish. You calling Pablo selfish, but you're selfish for doing that to your children. And I'm sure it was an easy fix, but for some reason you decided to be manipulative in this whole situation. So I feel bad for Pablo and that for what happened and all that good stuff. Max discusses Marlo and all that. He brings up the word that was used against Marlo, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, and I'm not doing this for any type of manipulative reasons, but the word that he used wasn't good. He realizes that. Pablo said in the after show that he did have a conversation with Max, like, look, this isn't right. You're Latino and da-da-da-da-da, you can't be saying these type of things. We're seeing a lot in Max's confessional, like, look, I can apologize for this, da-da-da-da-da. That's not what I meant, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And to me, I felt like that was sincere. Pablo feels a certain type of way in this after show, and that's why I wish I hadn't watched the after show. I'd rather see stuff unfold if it's going to unfold on the show, or at least let everything come to a conclusion on the reunion. But anyways, I did. So it's kind of like, oof. But I believe that Max said that he was willing to apologize to Marlo and all that. So I know I saw people in the comments like, you still said it. I mean, he did say it, but he can't take it back. What can he do? I think that Max had heard that Marlo was offended by that. Now, I said last week, look, I think Marlo's going to use this to her advantage. Did I feel at the time Max was trying to be offensive, trying to be problematic? No, not at all. However, the optics is going, I didn't say this last week, but I will say this week. The optics are not going to be in your favor, Max, because of the word choices that you used. Pablo, he has another get together with his family. He invited a bunch of people, I guess the crew for chasing. And Rashida was the one that showed up, the only one that showed up. So, Everybody was having a good time. We were seeing some of Pablo's family, a couple of his brothers, and all that. So it was a good time. Yeah, Pablo is king. He's king of Orlando because I think that he's giving a lot. It seems like he gave a lot even last season. I think this year he's even more comfortable and letting you in on what's going on. He does not mind being vulnerable. And just shout out to him for doing all of that. Rashida and Marlo, they meet up. It looks like like a Joanne Fabrics. I guess Rashida needs some fabric. She's going to be competing in pageants. And she's frustrated because of no one's really helping her. And I was thinking, like, when she mentioned her mom, I said, your mom that we met a couple episodes ago? But I think this is the mom, a gay mom. And she calls him an AO, granddaddy. I was like, your granddad? I didn't understand at first, but no, these are the gay relationships the queer relationships that you do form, and you adopt different ones to be a part of your now family that may not exist in your blood family. So she's frustrated because there hasn't been much feedback or much advice or much coaching from AO, who has been encouraging her in regards to this whole pageant world and all that. And Marlo is trying to stay out of it because Rashida's really kind of going on and on about how she feels. And Marlo's like, well, you don't really know what's going on in their lives right now, da-da-da-da-da. And really, Rashida, a phone call if you need help. I'm not saying that AO does not have a responsibility in contacting you, but if you need that, ask. Maybe you don't want to be a bother, but at the same time, I don't know if venting is going to help or whatever, but at least I'm watching Marlo be loyal to whomever she's really connected to. So I can give her points for that, and not trying to be messy or whatever, And Marlo was like, look, they're not here. I'm here. Marlo said that she's competed in other pageants, but hasn't won a title or anything, but she's there to offer her support as much as she can. So, I mean, I say call her, and you can really just do away with how you actually feel and not feel like AO's trying to do something to you. Again, people have lives, and you just don't know what's going on in their life. They also talk about, is it Nunu? But that's the girlfriend. I'm confused. For some reason, because of how Rashida has found her way as far as trans, I guess I'm confused. Because there was just a lot of stuff that she was saying all at the same time. I'm like, huh? I guess she's found herself and da-da-da-da-da. Nunu is still trying to find herself. And it looks like she's feeling a little intimidated by Rashida and all that, because of how confident and all that Rashida does. And she's like, I know I can't be there to just kind of pull her along. That's a more self-discovery, da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to critique, but it's just like, we're seeing all of these dramatics. And I hate to keep saying this, but how it feels like Rashida plays roles. Reginald, she's one way. We get the deeper voice. We get hood nigga. I don't even know if I should be saying that on YouTube, sorry. And then we're getting Rashida. We're getting that over here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to keep talking about this because it's always going to come off like I'm being problematic and just coming after someone because of them being feminine or being a female. I can't do that. And that's not where I'm coming from. I'm just confused at the moment. But anyways, they discussed that. We over with that. Max and Mark, they go to an amusement park to get to know one another. I said, cool. So after you see them on the rides, all that good stuff, they go sit down to eat, all that good stuff. The topic came up about B-Baby and how Mark had his own opinions about B-Baby and him being held accountable, about this whole pool party situation. And Max wanted to know why Mark was just so. Mark in his confession was like, look, I do have strong opinions about stuff, and if I see something out of whack, I'm gonna say something. Max was like, okay, I get that you have strong opinions, but it just felt like you were just really honing in on him. Is there something else there between you and B-Baby? Like, did y'all date? Did y'all mess around or something? Or was there some other guy or something in the whole situation? And then Mark said, well, he's connected to my ex. I said, oh, that's that was deep, because I was trying to figure out why Mark was just so attached, because it was interesting at how much he had to say about B-Baby. I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion, but it's just like, well, you're new to him, so why were you that hard on that whole situation? And nobody's holding him accountable. So it's you who hardly knows him should hold him accountable? Like, you can't speak to one of his friends and say, hey, Of course you're in this on this show, and I think that your voice matters. I really do. But it felt off, and now we know. Mark says, with this ex, I'm pretty territorial. So really, Mark did a deep dive on B-Baby. According to Mark, he feels like whomever B-Baby's hanging around are just clout chasers. Like, you need to rise above all these folks. So that just puts a different layer on the Mark, because I'm like, oh, so you've been doing your homework on some of these folks that you kind of, but you particularly have now honed in on Mark, on B-Baby, because of his connection. You don't know if they actually did something, but you're trying to figure out, and you're going to be around this person, and since you want to be territorial, for me, I always think that is a disaster waiting to happen, trying to keep a hold of an ex in any type of way. However, I know that it can be uncomfortable dealing with an ex and now a new formed social circle. I said, my God. So that's what's up with you, Mark. Okay. So we got a lot more to look out for from you. I would like to see you in, because this is what happened. Max said, okay, so we were kind of cool, me, B-Baby, and you, and then you just pulled away all of a sudden. And then he was saying, I pulled away some because of how things went down at that pool party, But really, it was about this whole boyfriend situation. Really was about that, even though he said that. And it could be compiled with that. However, it's that boyfriend situation. I said, Max done pulled that out. I said, now that's a force multiplier. If you know anything about Mr. Carlos King, you're going to get ish moving. Max was able to pull something out of Mark to, okay, now we're getting someplace in this whole situation. I said, Lord, you done pulled a new storyline out of this man. So anyway, I think the next part, Pablo has his Stop the Violence, I'll call it crusade. And he wanted to honor some of his niece and nephew, I believe it was, who was just taken down through gun violence, through whatever was going on. Pablo did say that both of them were in the streets and all that, and he's just really wanting to be an advocate. Look, we don't have to do all this stuff as far as all this violence and that ends in fatalities. He gives credence to gives honor to his niece and nephew at the thing. So then we get on to the next thing, and that's when people start showing out. Somehow everything, I don't know who started the conversation, but it was about burying the hatchet on a lot of things, and like, have you guys been able to resolve things? Pablo and Cali Boy, they did a squash, because remember, I think a couple episodes when Pablo said to AO that he heard that Cali Boy sent somebody there to jump him at the pool party. They had a conversation off camera, and they got the squash, and they're good. Whatever happened, but obviously Cali Boy's still living, so they're good. B-Baby wanted to find out from Marlo, where did this whole rumor about me being on drugs come from and all that. Marlo said it came from whom she heard it from. They heard it from Max. Max said that you were seen with an 8-ball. I said, what? Now, Max wasn't able to start really defending himself. I think that Max was starting to deny it, and then AO was like, you did, sir. At the pool party, I talked to you about it, and you confirmed it. That you said that you seen something with, you seen B-Baby with an 8-ball. I guess 8-ball is something that have to do with cocaine. I don't know anything about that, and I'm not in the place of trying to act like I'm above it. I just don't know what it's all about. But anyways, Max wants to explain himself, but too many people are talking over him and all that. Marlo wants to get on the subject of being called what Max said, and I still can't even remember what was said. Lord Jesus. But anyways, I will say this, Max, before we get on to the later confrontation. If you did say that, that's effed up. That's effed up. And what makes it effed up? One, you're B-Baby's friend. Two, you've been in his face. And you actually seen him break down because of the stuff that was going on that Marlo decided to spread out into the gossip world. And you said nothing. So I was like, what? And then you prayed with him. If this is true, because we still haven't heard your explanation. You prayed with him. That's just like, what? If it happened, I don't know. But right now, I got to put everything on the table, and we'll keep what needs to be kept there until we get an explanation, because that's like, what? Now, on the other side, I feel like some of this cast is very strategic. Meaning this. I feel like, I don't know if this was even going to be brought up. However, it seemed like people were already on if any of these type of situations were brought up. And what I'll give an example of is AO. He was able to all of a sudden confirm all of this. Nobody's talking to B-Baby about it. AO is allowing his friend, Marlo, or acquaintance, whatever it is, to blast Brian on her platform. Nobody goes back to B-Baby and say, hey, you know, Max said this about you. And that's where Marlo's getting it from. And you're questioning Max about it, but nobody's going back to B-Baby. So it's like, is Max doing this stuff? For real? Because I'm not understanding it. I don't understand it. Y'all too busy gossiping around and ain't even going to the person that actually been affected by this. So, if Max is a snake, he's not the only snake. Because y'all are culpable in this whole situation. And don't act like that wasn't my business. It was. Because one, you asking stuff. You made it your business. You're asking for receipts, proof, screenshots, timelines. So, no, And nobody cares that that type of rumor was being put out on him. To come back to him and say, hey. And another thing, Marlo, if it is true that this came from Max, why didn't you reveal that source? Because you were already offended by this dude already. You already said that he was treasonous. And the definition of treason is kind of weird as far as how you're trying to use it to be. It's an action of betraying someone or something. The crime of murdering someone to whom the murderer owed allegiance, such as a master or a husband. But y'all weren't even friends like that, so you're using treason out of context. So I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of just tabling it. I'm gonna hear what Max got to say, and maybe we could come to a conclusion. Anyways, at this point, Marlo wants to talk about the whole word that was used against her. Again, I knew that she would use this to her advantage. I'm sure that she went on her platform and said something. Anyways, she goes into what I don't like. And I was like already put off because it's just like, can we just kind of have a conversation about this? Only because of how I seen Max was within his confessionals about how he felt, and you know, he's really ready to give her an apology and was saying that to Pablo. So it's like, do we got to be on that type of time? We find out that after the last event that we saw on TV, there was a pool party that Marlo was a part of and hosting or whatever. Max was there. She had a problem that Max was there because they weren't cool. Well, why was he there? Who invited him? But anyways, I guess Marlo wanted to talk to him there, and somehow things got out of hand. All we heard is that I guess Max was saying that that was defaming his reputation, for now really stating that basically he's a racist for what he said. For whatever happened, it got too rah-rah, and Marlo ended up losing a contract that she had. She blames Max for that. I don't think that you can put that on Max. You can't put that on Max. That was you. That was your behavior. That didn't shut a door on you, City Princess. If you, I won't go that far, but you can't put that on Max. Why was he there? I don't know. Who let him in there? I don't know. But obviously he didn't come on his own. I don't know if he was invited or not. I don't think he crashed. But anyways, you were still willing to have a conversation with him, and you did not dismiss him out of the situation. Max is trying to be heard. He stands up on the bench. We see Pablo is like, look, you gotta calm down on all that cussing, da-da-da-da-da. Max is getting more frustrated. Somehow Chef Pablo and Max, they get into it, da-da-da-da-da. He tells Ayo that Pablo's being fake, da-da-da-da-da. Max feels like Pablo is taking Marlo's side in this whole situation because Marlo was cussing him out before Max started cussing her out. Now Pablo, during his after show, was saying, look, it got to a point, it was heightened, where I had to come over there and say, hey, get off these bench tables. His mom was sitting over on the next table over there. And he felt like Max was disrespecting him and disrespecting his family with his mother even being there. I get that. And I understand that. You know, he pleaded like, look, none of this stuff happened when they were doing that honor celebration for the memorial for Max's dad. And it doesn't seem like he wanted to share that same respect for me and mine. I can understand that. What I will say, Pablo, is, he did say that he had previous conversations of, look, it's not good that you are on tables and all that good stuff. You have a reputation of your own, and it's just chill. And he had no problem with them sparring with each other. Just watch them be words and don't get on tables. I will say this, Pablo. Was it really logical to have this type of scene in front of your family? You know, with reality shows, things have got to be heightened, though. At this point, this is your second year in. I think at that point, you either should have sent the family away or get another pavilion and y'all do what y'all got to do. Because now it's at the point where probably you want to fight. I'm like, oh, how did this get this far? Like, it was just so chaotic all of a sudden. So, I think there's a lot of things that I think everybody has their own feelings about it. Even though I say with Marlo, you know, I feel like that she's taking it and using it to her advantage. Yes. However, Marlo can feel the way that she wants to feel. And I can only imagine what it feels like to be now a trans woman and the stuff and the labels that are put on her. So I can't disregard it and just act like, oh, well, and not think that Marlo could not be affected by what was said to her. Even though I think that she's using it to her advantage also. It's like probably a 50-50 thing, you know? Anyways, again, Max, I would just want to hear from you to see what's up so that I can rightfully judge. But again, if all of that was going on and you was in B-Baby's face like that, that's just kind of, I ain't for that. Pablo feels like Max was more worried about his reputation instead of really getting it right as far as what he said to Marlo. I don't know. I've been hearing those words, though, out of you, Max. That's what you said even there, defaming and all that stuff, and slander and all that. Again, I don't think that you meant it to be problematic, but it did come out problematic. So, anyways, that's all I got, y'all. Tell me your thoughts on this whole situation. I did not expect all this. And it's a to be continued episode, so we got to see where it goes from there. That's all I do have. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Like this video. Support me, y'all. And you can subscribe. We're on the road to 8,000. We're almost getting there. Thank you for everyone for staying tuned. Keep your notifications on. And leave your comments on how you felt about this episode. And until the next one, peace.